Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to a slightly different type of video. But let me start with some backstory. So I've been doing YouTube now for very nearly 3 years, would you believe? And my day job as a presenter, a training instructor in telecoms for nearly 20 years. So I've always loved presenting and learning through YouTube to create content, video content, so storyboarding and planning videos and shooting them and editing them and publishing them has been a really great learning process for me. But I've always wanted to have a go at TV presenting for quite some time. I've had a sort of, you watch the guys on the telly, I get lots of you guys comment and say, you know, why don't you have a go at TV presenting? So about a year ago, that's what I decided I would try and do. It is a very difficult thing to get into. It's one of those catch-22 things. If you haven't got a body of work to say, look, this is what I can do, you can't get the opportunity to do it, and therefore you can't build up a body of work. So I was very lucky this year on the approach to Festival of Speed, working with the media company that create all of the video content for Goodwood around their major motorsport events, but they're also actually the guys that do all of the coverage of Formula E. So hugely experienced. And they finally said, what we will do at Festival of Speed is give you an opportunity to basically back up your words. See if you can actually become a TV presenter. See if you can do it. So I met with the guys from Aurora a couple of weeks before Festival of Speed, and we decided that I would be given an opportunity to do some stuff around the FOS Future Lab. My background is technical training in communications, so that link between describing technology and my presenting, we thought that would be a good place to start. And I was given a task of creating sort of 3 or 4 1 to 2 minute long pieces filmed as live from Future Lab. We planned out which ones they would be, and then I was basically given a full crew. So I had a cameraman, a sound guy, and a producer with me for just 30 minutes. Now, you might be sitting there going, well, why didn't you film the whole process at the time? And the simple answer to that was I just wanted to concentrate on the job in hand. I'm not somebody who gets nervous very much, but believe me, on the day of my first gig as a TV presenter, I was super nervous and I just didn't want the distraction. But I did have the floor producer who worked with me just do a little bit of work with my camera phone just while I was doing some video, and kind of put these up as we're chatting. So the very first thing we decided to do was do a piece around the Robo Race car. Now Robo Race was making its debut at Festival of Speed, and they had this fantastic simulator, and I did a short piece to camera for that. Now the really interesting challenge with this one is that what we wanted to do was finish the 1 to 2 minute long segment as the ride finished, so that I could interview the person that was actually on the simulator, a guy called Paul. So let's see how I got on, shall we? Roll clip number 1.
We are here in FOS Future Lab, and behind me is the Robo Race car making its Festival of Speed debut. This fully autonomous race car has been developed not only to drive autonomous technology in the area of racing, but also road safety. And this simulator will basically take anybody who's not been up the hill on a ride of a lifetime. This car has up to 500 horsepower. It's powered by 4 separate electric motors. It's capable of speeds of up to 200 miles an hour. And that fan can blow air at up to 60 miles an hour. And you can see Paul here is having a ride of a lifetime. Now, I'm lucky enough, I've actually been in a car up the hill, and I rode on this last night, and it really is very realistic. It moves and shakes. Now, Robo Race will be driving up the hill over Festival of Speed all weekend. A really big challenge for the car because of the environment. The sensors on the car, it uses radar, LiDAR, GPS, but unfortunately because of Goodwood, we can't use the GPS because of the tree cover, so it's relying on the other sensors. Also, normally when this car runs, you've got lots of nice uniform Armco barriers at the side of the road, whereas at Goodwood, it's a very mixed bag. You've got the flint wall, you've got large amounts of grass, you've got hay bales. The guys had to teach this car what a hay bale looked like, and I think Paul's finished. We'll just get a quick word from him. Paul, how was that, mate?
That's absolutely amazing. It's like being able to do the course while flying.
Yeah, it's a combination of the two.
The only problem is, there's nobody in the stands to see it.
But look at the audience you got here, everybody saw you, man.
It was an absolutely wonderful thing.
Fantastic. So there you go, guys. Robo Race car running up the hill all weekend. Absolutely phenomenal thing.
So that was, I think, a very successful piece. It's always great to work with a proper professional cameraman as well. They're just brilliant to watch. But that was really good. And then very shortly after that, we were actually joined by a couple of the senior guys from Robo Race, and I managed to get an interview with Bryn Balcombe, who is the Chief Strategy Officer for Robo Race. So let's roll the video of the interview.
So I'm here with Bryn Balcombe, Chief Strategy Officer of Robo Race. Bryn, firstly, congratulations on the coolest looking car here.
Thank you very much.
Can you just tell us, though, some of the technical challenges you guys have had bringing this car and running it up the Goodwood Hill?
Yeah, this is an amazing event. I think one of the things for our team is just the emotion of being in front of so many people. This is the largest demonstration that we've ever done. Yeah. So just from a team perspective, that's a huge difference. But in terms of the track, you know, it's very narrow, got grass to either side, hay bales. We've never dealt with hay bales before. We've been here, we've tested, but when we tested, none of the infrastructure was here. So that's like, this is the first time of doing it in the fully built environment. Yeah. So.
And how's it gone so far? Have you run? We haven't run yet. So.
So we ran earlier in the week while it was nearly built, but it wasn't fully built. Yeah. So we did another run this morning. Yeah. Just to do a mapping of the circuit. Yeah. Or the hill climb, and then we'll run properly in front of the public today with RoboCar. So,
fantastic. And you're keeping it a sedate pace so we can all get a good look, right? But it's much, much faster than you'll see it going up the hill today in theory.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. When I saw it in testing, it was much faster than I expected. Yeah. You know, even with the 120 km/h limit that we've got set at the moment, the acceleration is still really high. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not the ultimate speed that we can do. Yeah. I think we need to leave something maybe to come back next year. But yeah, it's going to be a great run for the public.
Maybe go for the record next year, 41.6 seconds.
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe that the IDEO from Volkswagen has an attempt at that. I know they want to set the electric record here, but there's some interesting competition out there.
It's been great talking to you, and congratulations on the car, and good luck over the weekend.
Well, thank you very much.
Take care.
So that was Robo Race done. They were both done on the first take as well, so I was very chuffed with that. The next thing we decided to do a piece on was the brilliant stand that Siemens had, where they were talking about their partnership with Red Bull Racing, and they had a Red Bull Formula One car and the most fantastic screen. Now, with all of these pieces, I met with guys on the stand either the day before or the morning of the filming, found out an awful lot more about what was being shown on the stand, and then condensed that down into a kind of 1 to 2 minute piece to camera. No script, and again, this was done in one take as well, so I was really chuffed with that. But let's roll the Siemens video.
So I'm in FOS Future Lab, and behind me is a stunning Red Bull racing car. And we often see sponsors' logos on these cars, and sometimes you might just think that's marketing, but there's a Siemens logo on the back of this car, and Siemens have been a technical partner of Red Bull Racing for many, many years. And this is really a demonstration of some of the things that they do with the team. So, for example, what we're talking about here is how Siemens could help the engineers in Red Bull if they needed to make some changes to something like the front wing on the car. Then Siemens provide a lot of the computational power, the CFD analysis, to make this in virtual reality before it actually gets made into a real wing. What I can do, which is really cool, is slowly slide this along and talk about some different concepts. So this might be, for example, looking around the front wheel and looking at issues around the aerodynamics of the front wheel. But there's a huge amount of technical partnership between Aston Martin Red Bull Racing and Siemens. And then finally, if we keep pulling along a little bit further, I think this is probably the coolest display in the whole of Future Lab. But the final thing is change management. So if any of these small components change, we've got a steering wheel here, the knock-on effect to other parts of the car can sometimes be predicted by engineers, but sometimes there may be effects that aren't, and their algorithms and the computational power that Siemens provide can help make sure that any changes and the knock-on effect through the car are dealt with, so that ultimately the car goes as fast as possible around the circuit. But a really interesting display of engineering and technical partnership, and obviously a beautiful racing car.
So that Siemens done, pretty cool display, I think you'll agree. The next thing we decided to do a film on was basically the really famous architect Norman Foster. So his company, Foster and Partner, had a brilliant stand where they were showcasing a thing that they've been doing with NASA. They won a big competition with NASA, and they're basically, I mean, it's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen. But they've come up with this amazing idea using a swarm of autonomous micro robots to basically send them to Mars and then 3D print a Martian base on Mars using a combination of Martian surface, the kind of sand, it's a bit like basalt really, and a polymer, and they will basically build this moon base on Mars and before the astronauts were actually sent. It was just absolutely amazing. So again, I met up with the guys. There was an awful lot of information to take on board with this one. And we did do this as live, but in 2 segments, because I kind of talk through the first part and then jump in a sand pit and get attacked by lots of little micro robots. But again, this was done first take as well. Roll the Foster and Partner video.
I'm here in FOSS Future Lab at the Foster and Partner stand with a quite amazing display of technology. So Foster and Partner won a competition recently to 3D print habitation modules or pods on the Martian surface. And what we've got here is basically a description of the time flow and the project. So the first thing that would happen is a swarm of micro robots land on the Martian surface, and they basically clear a landing pad. And then the incredible thing is they actually then start to 3D print a protective dome from the Martian surface. Now we've got a 20-minute time lag between the Earth's surface and Martian surface, so these robots can't be controlled by Earth, they have to be autonomous. Once that protective dome is created, the robots then start to deploy solar cells for power and then start the 3D printing process of the habitation pods themselves. The habitation pods are placed inside the protective dome. The ones furthest into the dome are where the astronauts will actually spend most of their time sleeping. The ones nearer are where we find things like greenhouses and labs and so on. But a truly amazing display of technology. So these are real-life robots that will 3D print the Martian surface. Amazingly, this structure will be actually made from Martian surface. Now, the equivalent Earth surface is basalt, so it's about a 70% basalt and about 30% of a polymer. But the polymer is, much of it is reused, I'm getting attacked by robots, reused by a lot of the materials that they take with them. And then they can replicate this on the Earth, and then proof of concept that before it's actually built on the Martian surface. But they've basically got full structural integrity of this dome, and that's the thing that will protect the astronauts not just from things like radiation, but also from potential meteor strikes or the other harsh environments on the Martian surface.
Pretty cool, huh? And then the last thing was they probably had the coolest sandpit you have ever seen. This was to demonstrate really, really powerful AI algorithms and being able to kind of manage taking some information and then evolving that information into the display that was there. So basically there's a big sandpit with a big camera above. That camera and all the algorithms have been fed photographs of the Earth, some simple rules, but then they basically project onto the sand what looked like, it was called a terraform table, but what looked like a landscape. So if you dug a hole in the sand, it would be blue because that would be below the water level and that would be water. If you built a big pile of sand, you'd see sort of mountain colours, and then on the top above the snow line you'd see snow-capped peaks. Amazing, amazing things. So let's roll the Terraform Table tape.
So we're in FOSS Future Labs at the Terraforming Table. Everyone's having a great time. This is probably the most high-tech sandpit you will ever come across. What we've basically got up there is a camera that also has the ability to sense the distance or the height of all of these various sand peaks. And behind that are a whole bunch of very powerful algorithms that have been taught some very basic rules. For example, on the Earth's surface, where is the sea level? Where would a snow line be? And then it's been fed thousands of photographs, satellite images, and it then does the rest itself. So we can see these different peaks. So we've got down here, you can see the deeper it goes, the deeper the color blue, and it projects that image onto the sand. And everyone's having a great time kind of building mountains and get your hands stuck in there and sort of turn grass into water. Absolutely brilliant. But it's the algorithms, the self-learning nature of this that makes this the most high-tech sand pit in the world.
So pretty cool. So they were my pieces to camera. It was a really, really interesting experience. A lot of pressure, but you know, I think I did an okay job. That doesn't now mean I'm a TV presenter. I'm not completely naive, but it does mean I've got a body of work. Oh, you had enough there, dude? Yes, it's very hot for today at the moment. I have a body of work that I can go out and give to production companies or to agents and just see where I go. So I'm gonna do my best with that one. But it was a really, really interesting process, and one I hope to be able to do again at some point in time. But that's it really. I just wanted to share that with you. A lot of people, if you follow me on kind of Facebook and stuff, will have seen that. The coolest thing perhaps was after I'd done my filming, I had literally half an hour with a film crew. About an hour later, I was walking across the front of Goodwood House, looked up at the big screen, and there I was on the big screen. It was the most surreal thing to see, and the guy stood next to me was like kind of looking at the screen and looking at me, and then he went, "Hey mate, you're on telly." But it was a really, really cool weekend, really topped off a very, very special Festival of Speed. But I'm going to bring that video to a close. Slightly different, but I hope you've enjoyed seeing my first attempt at TV presenting. I would love to know what you think, how I got on. But if you've enjoyed that video, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come, and you never know, you might see me on the telly someday. But anyway, I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care. Drive safe.